My daughter told her friends I was too embarrassing for her wedding. I'm Jim Anderson, and I raised Sarah alone for 28 years. When she needed my beach house for her honeymoon, she had conditions. I could let her use it, but I couldn't tell anyone it was mine. Her new husband's family might ask questions about how a simple plumber owns property in Newport Beach. What Sarah didn't know was that her embarrassing father had been keeping secrets, two secrets, that would change everything she thought she knew about success, family, and what really matters. I listened to her demands quietly, then told her I'd think about it. That thinking time cost her more than she could ever imagine. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you are watching from. This story starts with a wedding invitation that broke my heart, but it ends with a lesson about respect that changed both our lives forever. The invitation arrived on May 15th. 28 years of bedtime stories, little league games, and scraped knee bandages, and I got addressed as guest, not Jim Anderson, not father of the bride, just guest. I stared at that cream-colored cardstock for 10 minutes. Sarah had spent hours picking the perfect font, the perfect paper weight. She'd argued with the printer about the exact shade of gold foil. But she couldn't write Dad on my invitation. I called her that evening. Sarah, honey, I got the invitation. Oh, good. Isn't it beautiful? Bradley's mother designed them. She knows someone at Crane and Company. It's lovely. I noticed it's addressed to guest. Silence. Then Neha. Dad, we talked about this. No, we didn't. You talked. I listened. Look, Bradley's family is very traditional. They're old Newport Beach money. The Prestons have been members of Pacific Vista for 3 generations. And I fixed their toilets. That's not what I meant. But it was exactly what she meant. 2 weeks later, she called about my tool belt. I'd worn it to drop off a check at her apartment. $3,000 for her dress alterations. She met me at the curb. Dad, next time, could you maybe not wear the work clothes? Mrs. Hartley from upstairs was asking questions. I looked down at my Red Wing boots. $180. Built to last 20 years. These clothes paid for that dress, Sarah. I know. I'm grateful. But you have nice clothes too, right? Maybe the khakis Mom bought you? The khakis her mother bought me in 2018, before the cancer took her, before I worked 80-hour weeks to pay medical bills and keep Sarah in private school. Sure, honey, I'll remember that. She hugged me then, quick and tight. I love you, Dad. You know that, right? This wedding is it's important to Bradley's family that everything looks perfect. I drove home in my 1998 F-150 with Anderson Plumbing Solutions magnets on the sides. The truck ran perfect. Paint was faded, but the engine purged like new. I'd maintained it myself for 26 years. That night, I pulled out the photo albums. Sarah's first day of kindergarten in her crisp white uniform. Private school cost me $42,000 a year. Sarah, graduating UCLA summa cum laude. Tuition, room, board, $280,000 total. Sarah, in her cap and gown, hugging me tight. I couldn't have done this without you, Daddy. But apparently she could get married without me. I found her mother's jewelry in the safety deposit box the next morning. $45,000 worth of diamonds and pearls. Sarah's inheritance. Her mother made me promise to give them to her when she's ready to be a real woman. Looking at that wedding invitation, I wondered if that day would ever come. The worst part wasn't the embarrassment. It was the calculation. Sarah had done math in her head, weighed my value against her image. 28 years of love against 1 day of appearances. And I'd come up short. I couldn't sleep that night. Kept thinking about Linda's last words to me in the hospital. Take care of our baby, Jim. Make sure she knows she's loved. Linda never knew Sarah was ashamed of me. Never saw the way our daughter flinched when I showed up at her college graduation in my work clothes. I'd come straight from a job, covered in pipe grease because I didn't want to miss her speech. She introduced me to her professors as my father, with the same tone most people say my dentist. Linda wouldn't have understood. She married a plumber and never once acted like it was something to apologize for. I made coffee at 3 in the morning and sat at my kitchen table with a calculator. 28 years of receipts. I keep everything. Had to, for the business taxes. Sarah's private school. $47,000 per year for 13 years. $611,000. UCLA tuition and expenses, $280,000 total. Medical insurance until she was 26, $48,000. Car payments on her Honda Civic, $18,000. Apartment security deposits when she moved 4 times, $12,000. Her mother's medical bills that insurance wouldn't cover, $67,000. Then the smaller things: dance lessons, summer camps, spring break trips with her sorority sisters, the MacBook Pro for college, the down payment on her current apartment. I stopped calculating at $1.2 million. 1.2 million reasons I should be standing next to her at that altar. But she'd done her own math, and it came out different. If I stayed quiet, what would I lose? More than money, more than pride. I'd lose the last piece of Linda's dream for our family. She wanted Sarah to be strong, independent, successful. She got 2 out of 3. Linda never wanted Sarah to be cruel. The phone rang at 6 in the morning. Sarah calling from her yoga studio. "Dad, I've been thinking about our conversation." "About the wedding?" "Yeah? Maybe we could find you a nice spot in the back. You know, where you'd be comfortable. Away from Bradley's family friends, away from the important people, away from anyone who might ask questions about the bride's father." "Sarah, honey, what do you tell people about me? What do you mean when your friends ask about your family? When Bradley asks about your dad, what do you say?" She was quiet for 30 seconds. Then, "I tell them you're a plumber." "That's it?" "Well, yeah. I mean, what else is there to say? What else was there to say? I'd raised her alone from age 14, taught her to drive in the Home Depot parking lot, walked her through her first heartbreak with tissues and ice cream, sat up all night when she had pneumonia, checking her temperature every hour. I'd built a business with my bare hands, started with $500 and a used van. Now, Anderson Plumbing Solutions employed 31 people. We had contracts with 3 hotels, 2 hospitals, and half the restaurants in Orange County. I owned 8 rental properties, had $1.2 million in savings, more coming in every month than most of Bradley's trust fund friends would see in their lifetimes. But to Sarah, I was just a plumber. Nothing else worth mentioning. "Dad, are you still there?" "I'm here." "So what do you think?" "About the back row?" I thought about Linda's engagement ring sitting in my bedroom safe. 3 carats, custom setting. I'd worked 16-hour days for 8 months to afford it. Linda wore it every day until the cancer made her fingers too swollen. "Let me think about it, Sarah." "Okay, but I need to know soon. The seating chart goes to the printer tomorrow. I'll call you tonight." I hung up and poured another cup of coffee. Outside, my neighbor was loading his Mercedes. Divorce attorney. Made good money, but he called me every month when his toilets backed up. Never acted like my work was beneath him. "Morning, Jim. Early start today?" "Always, Pete. That's how the bills get paid." He laughed. "Wish I had your work ethic. Sarah's wedding coming up, right? You must be so proud." "Proud? Yeah, I was proud. Proud that I'd raised a daughter so successful she could afford to be ashamed of me. Proud that my love had been so unconditional she never learned to return it. Real proud." I called Sarah at 8 that night. Bradley answered her phone. "Mr. Anderson, how are you, sir?" "Sir?" Like I was his grandfather, not his future father-in-law. "I'm fine, Bradley." "Is Sarah there?" "She's just finishing dinner." "We're at Nobu." "Do you know Nobu?" I knew Nobu. $300 sushi dinners. I'd never eaten there, but I'd fixed their kitchen plumbing twice. "Could you put her on?" "Of course." "Sarah, honey, it's your father." Your father. Not your dad, not Jim. Your father, like it was a medical condition. "Hey, Dad, did you decide about the seating? I want to understand something first. How much is this wedding costing?" "Dad, that's not really appropriate to—" "Sarah, how much?" She sighed. "Total? Maybe 800,000, but Bradley's parents are paying for most of it." "Most of it?" "They're covering the venue, the flowers, the band. We're handling the smaller stuff." "What smaller stuff?" "You know. Dress, photographer, catering upgrades. Maybe 300,000. "Where'd you get $300,000? Silence. Then Bradley's voice in the background. "Tell him about your trust fund." "My trust fund?" Sarah didn't have a trust fund. She had a college fund that I'd emptied for her tuition. Sarah? Look, Dad, we figured it out. That's what matters. How'd you figure it out? I used my savings. What savings? From my job at the marketing firm, Sarah made $60,000 a year. After taxes, rent, and her lifestyle, she maybe saved $10,000 annually. She'd been there 3 years. Sarah, you don't have $30,000 in savings, much less $300,000. Dad, this is embarrassing. Not as embarrassing as having a plumber for a father, right? The line went quiet. I could hear restaurant noise in the background. Clinking glasses, soft jazz, the sound of money being spent. That's not fair. Where'd the money come from? I borrowed it. From who? From the equity in my condo. Sarah rented an apartment. She didn't own property. Sarah, where did you get $300,000? I took a loan against future earnings. Bradley helped me set it up. Bradley helped her. Bradley, whose family money was mostly reputation and credit cards. I'd done enough plumbing for rich people to know the difference between old money and old debt. What kind of loan? A private loan, through Bradley's connections. At what interest rate? Dad, why does this matter? What interest rate? 18%, 18%, loan shark territory. Sarah had borrowed $300,000 at 18% interest to fund a wedding she couldn't afford. Sarah, that's $60,000 in interest the first year alone. We'll pay it back. Bradley's getting a promotion. Bradley worked part-time at his father's real estate office. Had for 2 years. No promotion coming that I could see. What if he doesn't get promoted? Then we'll figure something else out. Like what? I don't know, Dad. Maybe you could help us. There it was. The real reason for the call. Not about seating charts. About money, again. Help you how? You could co-sign the loan. Your credit is good. My credit was excellent. 30 years of paying every bill on time. But co-signing Sarah's 18% debt wasn't happening. Sarah, I won't co-sign that loan. Why not? Because it's financial suicide. You borrowed money you can't afford to pay back. That's not true. Show me your budget. Show me how you plan to pay $60,000 in interest plus principal on a $60,000 salary. We've got it figured out. How? We just do. I took a deep breath. 28 years of patience, 28 years of saying yes to everything she needed, time to say no to something she wanted. Sarah, I'm not co-signing the loan, and I think you should call off this wedding until you can afford it. Call off the wedding? Get married at City Hall. Have a party at my house. Spend $5,000 instead of $800,000. Dad, you don't understand. This isn't just a wedding, it's Bradley's family. They have expectations. Their expectations aren't my problem. But I'm your daughter. Yes, you are. And I love you too much to watch you destroy your financial future for one day. It's not just one day. It's the beginning of our life together. Sarah, you'll spend the next 20 years paying for this party. That's not your decision to make. You're right. It's not, but co-signing your debt isn't happening. I could hear her breathing change, getting angry. Fine, I'll figure it out myself. How? I don't know, maybe I'll sell something. What do you have to sell? Mom's jewelry. You said it was mine. Mom's jewelry. Linda's wedding ring, her grandmother's pearl necklace, the earrings I bought her for our 10th anniversary. Sarah, that jewelry is worth $45,000. You owe $300,000. It's a start. Your mother wanted you to have those pieces when you were ready to be a real woman. I am a real woman, Dad. I'm getting married. Getting married and being ready for marriage are different things. The phone went quiet. Then Bradley's voice. Maybe we should talk about this later, babe. Sarah came back on. Dad, I have to go. Sarah, I'll call you tomorrow. She hung up. I sat in my kitchen looking at the calculator still showing $1.2 million. The cost of raising a daughter who thought I wasn't good enough to sit in the front row at her wedding, but good enough to co-sign her debt. The next morning, my phone rang at 7. Maggie Wilson from Pacific Vista Golf Club. Jim, we need you to look at the main clubhouse pipes before the Preston wedding Saturday. The pressure's been inconsistent all week. Pacific Vista, Bradley's family country club, where Sarah's wedding was happening. I can be there this afternoon. Perfect. Use the service entrance like always. Security will have your name. I'd been working Pacific Vista for 15 years. Fixed everything from kitchen drains to irrigation systems. Never saw the inside of the main dining room, but I knew those pipes better than the members knew their golf handicaps. That afternoon, I parked my F-150 next to a row of Mercedes and BMWs. The service entrance was around back, past the dumpsters and staff parking. The security guard, Tony, waved me through. "Hey, Jim. Heard your daughter's getting married here Saturday. Big wedding." "Yeah, big wedding. Must be nice having family money to swing a venue like this." I didn't correct him. Inside, the staff was setting up for the weekend events. White tablecloths, gold chairs, flowers being arranged by a team of 6 people. The wedding planner, a thin woman with an iPad, was directing traffic. "Excuse me, are you the plumber?" "The pipes in the bride's preparation room are making noise." She led me down a hallway lined with portraits of club presidents, past the member dining room, past the library, to a small suite overlooking the 18th green. The bride specifically requested this room. Apparently, her future father-in-law proposed to his wife here 30 years ago. I fixed the pipes in 20 minutes. Water hammer in the old brass fittings. Easy repair. As I was packing my tools, I heard voices in the hallway. "The final head count is 212, a woman was saying. "The bride's side is significantly smaller than expected." "How much smaller?" Another voice. 37 people. The bride's father isn't coming." "Why not?" "Family issues, apparently. The bride's mother passed away a few years ago, and there's been tension with the father. That's what Sarah told them. Not that she was embarrassed of me. Not that she'd rather have an empty chair than a plumber at her wedding. Just tension. I finished packing and headed for the service door, but the wedding planner stopped me. "Actually, could you check the men's room near the main dining room?" One of the members complained about water pressure. She led me through the main clubhouse. Past the trophy cases, past the member photos, past the bar where Bradley's father was sitting with 2 other men. "Preston, I heard your son's marrying down," one of them was saying. "It's not ideal," Bradley Sr. replied. "Girl's got no family money. Father's some kind of tradesman. Mobit." "Tradesman? Plumber, I think. Works around here sometimes." I was 10 feet away carrying a toolbox, wearing Anderson plumbing coveralls. They looked right through me. "Well, at least she's pretty," the other man said. "And young." Bradley could do worse. "True." "And her father's staying away from the ceremony. Less awkward for everyone, less awkward. Sarah had told them I was staying away. Not that I wasn't invited, that I was choosing not to come. I fixed their toilet in silence. Water pressure was fine. They just needed the chain adjusted. 30-second job. Walking out, I passed the wedding planner again. She was on the phone. "Yes, Mrs. Preston, the seating chart is finalized." "No, there won't be any issues with the bride's family. Her father won't be attending. Won't be attending. Like it was my choice." In the parking lot, my phone buzzed. Text message from my attorney, Tom Brown. "Coffee tomorrow? Need to discuss your will updates." I'd forgotten. Tom had been working on changes to my estate planning. Nothing major. Just some charitable donations I wanted to make, or thought I wanted to make. I texted back. "Can we meet today instead?" "Something's come up." "Sure. My office at 4? See you then." I drove home thinking about water pressure. How pipes work fine for years until suddenly they don't. How problems build up slowly, then all at once, everything breaks. How sometimes the person who knows how to fix things is the same person everyone takes for granted until they need a repair. Sarah called Thursday morning at 6:15. I was already up, coffee made, reading the newspaper at my kitchen table. "Dad, I need to ask you something important." "I'm listening." "You know how you offered to help with the wedding?" I'd offered to pay for a small wedding. She'd chosen to spend $800,000 she didn't have instead. "What kind of help?" "Well, Bradley and I were thinking about our honeymoon. We want to go somewhere really special." "Where were you planning to go?" "Originally, Hawaii. But then we thought maybe we could use your beach house instead." My beach house. The 4-bedroom oceanfront property in Newport Beach that I'd bought in 2019. Sarah had been there exactly twice. Both times she'd complained about the neighborhood being too touristy. "You want to honeymoon at my house? It would save us a lot of money." Hawaii is really expensive right now. Everything was expensive when you'd borrowed $300,000 at 18% interest. "Sarah, you're welcome to use the house." "Really? That's amazing. Thank you so much." I waited. Sarah was leading up to something. She always had that tone when she wanted more than she was asking for. There's just one tiny thing. What's that? Bradley's parents want to throw us a post-wedding party there, for their close friends who couldn't make it to the ceremony. Their close friends. The people too important for Sarah's actual wedding. How many people? Maybe 50? Just cocktails and appetizers? Very low key. 50 people. Cocktails and appetizers at my beach house for people who were too good to attend Sarah's wedding, but not too good to drink my liquor. When? Sunday afternoon, the day after the wedding. Sarah, if you want to use the house, that's fine. But I'm not hosting a party for people I've never met. You wouldn't have to host it. Bradley's parents would handle everything: catering, bartending, setup, cleanup. You wouldn't have to do anything. Except stay away? Well, yeah, you wouldn't want to be there anyway. It's going to be super boring. Just Bradley's parents' friends talking about golf and stock options. Stock options and golf. The kind of conversations too sophisticated for a plumber. Sarah, it's my house. I know, Dad, and I appreciate you letting us use it, but this party is really important to Bradley's family. More important than me being comfortable in my own home? That's not what I said. What are you saying? She took a deep breath. I could hear Bradley coaching her in the background, whispering instructions. Dad, here's the thing. If people ask about the house, it might be easier if they don't know it's yours. Easier how? Well, they might have questions about how you afford a place like that. What kind of questions? Like what kind of plumbing pays for oceanfront property? What kind of plumbing? Like I'd stolen the money. Like working people couldn't possibly earn enough to own nice things. Sarah, I bought that house with money I earned. I know that, but other people might not understand. What's to understand? I worked hard, saved money, bought property. Dad, you don't get it. These people, they inherit their money, or they're doctors, lawyers, tech executives. They don't really understand blue-collar success stories. Blue-collar success stories. Like I was a fairy tale instead of her father. So what do you want me to tell people? Maybe just don't mention that you own it. If anyone asks, we could say we're renting it, or that it belongs to a family friend. A family friend. 28 years of raising her, and I'd been demoted to family friend. Sarah, I'm not lying about owning my house. It's not lying. It's just private. It's lying. Bradley's voice got louder in the background. Then Sarah came back, sounding frustrated. Look, Dad, this is really important to our future. Bradley's dad might offer him a partnership in the real estate firm, but only if this wedding goes perfectly. What does me owning a beach house have to do with Bradley's job? Everything has to do with everything, don't you understand? We're not just getting married. We're joining a family, a community. And that community has standards. Standards. Standards that didn't include plumbers who owned oceanfront property. What standards? Dad, please don't make this harder than it has to be. I'm trying to understand what you're asking me to do. I'm asking you to let us borrow your house for one party and not tell anyone it's yours. And if someone asks me directly, why would they ask you? You won't be there. What if I want to be there? Silence. Long silence. Then Bradley's voice again, more urgent this time. Dad, you really wouldn't enjoy this party. It's not your kind of people. Not my kind of people. The kind of people who worked for their money instead of inheriting it. What's my kind of people, Sarah? You know what I mean. No, I don't. Tell me. Dad, you're being difficult. I'm being curious. You say these aren't my kind of people. So who are my kind of people? I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? Another silence. Then Sarah's voice, smaller now. I just meant you might feel out of place. In my own house. At their party. In my house. Dad? Sarah, let me make sure I understand this. You want to use my house for a party. You don't want me at the party. And you don't want anyone at the party to know the house is mine. When you put it like that, it sounds bad. How should it sound? Like a favor. Like something you'd do for someone you love. Someone I love. Someone who didn't love me back enough to put my name on her wedding invitation. Someone who thought I was too embarrassing for her wedding, but not too embarrassing to own the house for her party. Sarah, you can use the house. Really? Oh my God, thank you so much. But I'm not lying about owning it. Dad, and I'll be there. What? It's my house. I'll be there. Dad, that won't work. Why not? Because, she was crying now. Because I can't have you there, okay? I just can't. Why can't you? Because you embarrass me. There it was. 28 years of wondering and finally the truth. I embarrass you. Yes, okay? Yes. You embarrass me. Your clothes, your truck, your job, everything. I'm trying to build a life with sophisticated people, and you show up in work boots and flannel shirts talking about pipe fittings. I see. I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't want to hurt your feelings, but you asked. I did ask. So, can you please just let us have the party without you there? Please. I looked out my kitchen window at my neighbor loading his Mercedes. Pete, the divorce attorney, who treated me with respect, who never acted like my work clothes were embarrassing. Sarah? Yeah? You can't use my house. What? You can't use my house for your party. Dad, wait. And Sarah? What? Don't call me anymore unless you figure out how to be proud of your father instead of ashamed of him. I hung up. 2 minutes later, she called back. I didn't answer. Then Bradley called. I didn't answer. Then Sarah again. Then Bradley. Then Sarah. I turned off my phone and went to work. Had 3 jobs scheduled, all of them for people who said please and thank you when I fixed their problems. All of them for people who didn't think my work boots were embarrassing. Saturday arrived gray and overcast. June weddings in Orange County usually meant sunshine, but even the weather seemed disappointed in this ceremony. I was replacing a water heater in Irving when my phone started buzzing. Sarah calling every 20 minutes. I let it go to voicemail. Around 3 o'clock, Tom Brown called. Jim, you need to get to Pacific Vista. Now. Why? Sarah's wedding is falling apart. The checks are bouncing. The checks. The $300,000 loan that Sarah and Bradley thought would solve their problems. What happened? Private loan company called the venue this morning. Payments are in default. They're demanding immediate settlement or they're freezing all assets. How is that my problem? Sarah's been telling people you're covering the shortfall. The club manager called me looking for payment authorization. Sarah had lied. Again. Told the club I was paying for her wedding after I'd specifically said I wouldn't co-sign her debt. Tom, I'm not paying for this wedding. I know that. You know that. But Sarah's used your name as guarantee for $800,000 in vendor contracts. $800,000. She'd not only borrowed $300,000, she'd promised vendors that I would cover the rest. That's fraud. Yes, it is. And unless someone straightens this out, Sarah's going to jail. I closed the toolbox and headed for Newport Beach. Pacific Vista was chaos when I arrived. Wedding guests stood around the parking lot looking confused. Vendors were loading equipment back onto trucks. Through the clubhouse windows, I could see Sarah in her wedding dress, crying hysterically while Bradley paced behind her. Maggie Wilson met me at the door. Jim, thank God you're here. This whole thing is a nightmare. Where's the club manager? Conference room, with the lawyers. I walked through the main clubhouse, past the member dining room I'd never eaten in, past the library I'd never read in, to the conference room where I'd never been invited. 3 lawyers sat around a mahogany table covered with papers. Sarah and Bradley were across from them, looking like defendants at a murder trial. Everyone looked up when I walked in. Mr. Anderson, the lead lawyer said, we've been trying to reach you all day. About what? The financial guarantees your daughter provided for this event. I pulled out the chair at the head of the table and sat down. 25 years of being the invisible service provider. Time to be visible. What guarantees? He slid a stack of papers across the table. Vendor contracts with my name forged as guarantor. Credit applications listing me as co-signer. Financial statements claiming I had authorized $800,000 in wedding expenses. Mr. Anderson, did you sign these documents? No. Sarah started crying harder. Daddy, please. Did you authorize your daughter to use your credit for these purchases? No. Did you agree to be responsible for payment of these debts? No. Bradley stood up. Mr. Anderson, surely we can work something out. This is just a misunderstanding. Sit down, Bradley. He sat. I opened my briefcase and pulled out my own stack of papers. Bank statements, business records, property deeds, the documentation Tom had helped me organize. Gentlemen, my daughter seems to have misrepresented our financial arrangement. I spread the papers across the table. These are the bank statements for Anderson Plumbing Solutions. Current business account balance, $847,000. The lawyers leaned forward. These are my personal bank statements. Savings account balance, $1.2 million. Sarah stopped crying. Bradley's mouth fell open. These are the property deeds for my real estate holdings. Primary residence plus 8 rental properties. Total assessed value, $6.2 million. I pulled out another document. This is my membership certificate for Pacific Vista Golf Club. I've been a member for 3 years. Silence. Complete silence. This is my incorporation paperwork for Anderson Plumbing Solutions. Established March 15th, 1999. Annual gross revenue, $4.3 million. Net profit, $2.1 million. I looked at Sarah. Her wedding makeup was running down her cheeks. And this, I said, pulling out the final document, is my will. Current version, dated January 2024. Sarah Elizabeth Anderson is listed as primary beneficiary for an estate valued at $15.3 million. The lead lawyer cleared his throat. Mr. Anderson, if you have this kind of financial capacity, why didn't you simply pay for your daughter's wedding? Because she didn't invite me. I turned to Sarah. Stand up. She stood, shaking in her $10,000 dress. Sarah, explain to these gentlemen why you used my name to guarantee debts I never agreed to pay. Daddy, explain why you told your fiancé I was too poor to help with your wedding when you knew I had $15 million. I didn't. Explain why you told the club manager I was staying away from your wedding by choice. Sarah looked at Bradley. Bradley looked at the floor. I was embarrassed, she whispered. Of what? Of your job. What job? You're a plumber. What else am I? She couldn't answer. I'm a business owner, Sarah. I employ 31 people. I have contracts with major hotels and hospitals. I sit on the board of directors of this country club. I stood up and walked to the window overlooking the 18th green. I own a $4.2 million house in Newport Beach. I drive a truck because I like trucks, not because I can't afford a Mercedes. I turned back to face the room. Your mother died believing she'd raised a daughter who would be proud of her family. Instead, she raised a daughter who commits fraud rather than admit her father is successful. Bradley finally spoke. Mr. Anderson, we had no idea. You had every idea. You chose not to ask questions because you preferred thinking Sarah came from nothing, made you feel superior. I gathered my papers and put them back in the briefcase. Gentlemen, here's what's going to happen. I will pay the $800,000 in vendor contracts to prevent my daughter from going to prison. Sarah gasped with relief. However, I continued, this payment will be recorded as a loan to Sarah and Bradley at 18% interest, matching the terms of their original private loan. Daddy, the payments will be due monthly for the next 20 years. If they default, I will seize all assets, including their condo, cars, and any future earnings. I looked at Bradley. Your real estate career just became very important to your survival. Mr. Anderson, that's business, Bradley. Something you'll need to learn if you want to pay off this debt. I headed for the door, then stopped. Oh, and gentlemen, the wedding is canceled. What? Sarah screamed. You can't get married today because you're both broke and in debt. Come back when you can afford a marriage license. I walked out of Pacific Vista for the last time as the invisible plumber. From now on, when I walked through those doors, I'd be walking as a member. I drove straight to Tom Brown's office. He was waiting with revised paperwork spread across his conference table. That was fast, he said. 28 years wasn't fast. Today was just the ending. Tom had been my attorney since I started the business. He'd seen me go from a guy with a van to a guy with a company. He understood what Sarah had never bothered to learn. The new will is ready for signature, he said. Are you sure about these changes? I picked up the document. 43 pages that would determine how $15 million got distributed after I died. Read me the key changes. Sarah's inheritance is now limited to $50,000 and your mother's jewelry. Linda's jewelry. The one thing I'd always planned to give Sarah no matter what. The diamonds and pearls her mother wore with pride, never shame. The house goes to the Orange County Children's Hospital. They've been asking for a major donor for their new wing. The business? Employee stock ownership plan. Your 31 workers will own Anderson Plumbing Solutions equally. The rental properties? Split between 3 charities. Habitat for Humanity gets 4 properties, the United Way gets 2, and the Community College Foundation gets 2. Cash assets: $1 million to establish the Linda Anderson Memorial Scholarship for single parents attending trade school. The rest divided between various working-class support organizations. I signed each page carefully. $15 million redirected from a daughter who was ashamed of how I earned it to people who understood the value of honest work. Tom, I need one more document. What's that? A letter to Sarah. Something she'll get with the will when I die. I want her to understand why she lost her inheritance. Tom handed me a legal pad. I wrote for 20 minutes, then gave him the letter to type. Jim, she's still your daughter. Maybe this is too harsh. Tom, she committed fraud rather than admit I was successful. She stole my identity to fund a wedding I wasn't invited to. How is justice too harsh? People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice. Sarah chose to be ashamed of me, lie about me, and steal from me. I'm choosing consequences. My phone rang. Sarah, calling for the 15th time. I answered. Daddy, please, we need to talk. About what? About fixing this. About making things right. Sarah, you used my name to steal $800,000. I was going to tell you. When? After the wedding. After things settled down. You were going to tell me after you'd spent money you stole in my name? It wasn't stealing. You're my father. Being your father doesn't make me your bank account. I know. I made a mistake. Sarah, you made a choice. You chose to lie to vendors, lie to the country club, and lie to your fiancé about our family's finances. I can fix this. How? I'll pay you back. Every penny. With what money? Silence. Sarah, you make $60,000 a year. At 18% interest, you'll owe me $65,000 in payments the first year alone. I'll get a better job. Doing what? I don't know. Something. Anything. Sarah, here's what's going to happen. You and Bradley are going to spend the next 20 years paying off this debt. You're going to learn what it means to work for money instead of stealing it. Daddy, please. And Sarah? What? You're going to learn what it means to be proud of honest work instead of ashamed of it. I hung up and turned back to Tom. The document is ready for signature, he said. I signed the new will, formally disinheriting the daughter I'd spent 28 years trying to make proud of me. Tom, one more thing. I want to establish a fund. What kind of fund? For working parents whose kids are ashamed of them. Counseling, family therapy, whatever it takes to fix these relationships before they break permanently. How much? Start with $500,000, more if needed. Tom made notes. Any particular name for this fund? The Linda Anderson Family Pride Foundation. I'll set up the paperwork. I drove home as the sun was setting over Orange County, past construction sites where electricians and carpenters were finishing their Saturday overtime. Honest people doing honest work to provide for their families. People like me. People their children should be proud of. At home, I found 17 more voicemails from Sarah and Bradley. I deleted them without listening. Then I called Maggie Wilson at Pacific Vista. Maggie, it's Jim. I want to host an event. What kind of event? A celebration for all the tradespeople who work at the club. Plumbers, electricians, gardeners, kitchen staff, everyone. That's a wonderful idea. When? Next Saturday. The day Sarah was supposed to have her post-wedding party at my beach house. I'll send invitations to everyone. What's the occasion? I looked at the framed photo of Linda on my mantel. Beautiful, proud, and never once ashamed of the man she married. It's a celebration of honest work, I said, and the people who do it. The story hit social media Sunday morning. Sarah's friends from the wedding had phones. Videos of her crying in the conference room. Audio recordings of me revealing the $15 million estate. Photos of the legal documents spread across the mahogany table. By noon, #PlumberMillionaire was trending on TikTok. My phone rang constantly. Reporters wanting interviews, business magazines requesting features, morning shows asking me to appear on television. I ignored them all, except one call from the Orange County Register. Mr. Anderson, people are calling you the working-class hero of the year. Any comment? I'm not a hero. I'm a father who got tired of being treated like an embarrassment by his own daughter. What message do you have for other parents in similar situations? Set boundaries. Respect is earned both ways, even in families. The article came out Monday morning. Local plumber's $15 million secret shock's daughter's elite wedding. Below the headline was a photo of me in my work clothes, next to a photo of Anderson Plumbing Solutions' fleet of trucks. For the first time in my life, I was proud to see my picture in the newspaper. Tuesday, I got a call from the Community College Foundation. Mr. Anderson, we heard about your scholarship fund. We'd like to discuss expanding the program. What do you have in mind? A full trade school program, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, HVAC. We could name it the Anderson Institute for Working Excellence. The Anderson Institute. My name on a building where young people would learn skills that could support their families for life. Let's set up a meeting. Wednesday brought a different call from Bradley. Mr. Anderson, I need to apologize. For what? For encouraging Sarah to hide your success. For thinking less of you because you work with your hands. For not understanding that building a business makes you more impressive than inheriting one. Bradley, what do you want? I want to ask if I can work for you. Work for me? Learn the business. Start at the bottom. Prove I can earn respect instead of expecting it. I thought about it. Bradley was weak, entitled, and had terrible judgment, but he was also broke, desperate, and maybe educable. You can start Monday, 7 a.m., bring work clothes and a lunch. What's the pay? $15 an hour, same as any new apprentice. $15 an hour? Take it or leave it, Bradley. You've got 18% interest to pay off. He took it. Thursday morning, Sarah showed up at my house. I opened the door to find her sitting on my front steps in jeans and a t-shirt. No makeup, no designer clothes. She looked 28 years old instead of like someone pretending to be 40. Can we talk? About what? About how sorry I am. I sat down next to her on the steps. Same steps where she used to wait for the school bus, where I taught her to tie her shoes, where she cried when her first boyfriend broke her heart. Sarah, sorry doesn't fix 28 years of shame. I know. Sorry doesn't undo fraud. I know. Sorry doesn't give me back the daughter who used to be proud of her father. She started crying, not the hysterical sobbing from the conference room, but quiet tears of actual regret. Dad, I don't know when I stopped being proud of you. I do. It was the day you decided other people's opinions mattered more than our relationship. How do I fix that? You don't fix that, Sarah. You live with it. You pay the debt, you learn from the consequences, and you decide who you want to be going forward. What if I want to be your daughter again? You never stopped being my daughter. You stopped being a daughter I could respect. She looked at me with red eyes and a runny nose. For the first time in years, she looked real. How do I earn your respect back? The same way I earned mine, through honest work and consistent character over time. How long will that take? However long it takes. We sat in silence for 10 minutes. Then Sarah spoke again. Dad? Yeah? I saw the article about your scholarship fund. Mom would have loved that. Your mom would have loved a lot of things that never happened. Like what? Like watching her daughter get married to a man who respected her family. Sarah wiped her eyes with her sleeve. Dad, would it be okay if I called you sometimes? Not for money or favors. Just to talk? I looked at this stranger who used to be my little girl, who used to run to me when she was scared, who used to brag about her daddy to anyone who would listen. You can call me Sarah, but I'm not going to pretend the last 10 years didn't happen. I understand. She stood up to leave, then turned back. Dad? I'm proud of you. I should have said that a long time ago, but I'm saying it now. Thank you, Sarah. I love you. I love you too. She walked to her Honda Civic and drove away. Maybe toward growing up. Maybe toward becoming the woman her mother wanted her to be. Time would tell. 6 months later, I got a call from Maggie Wilson. Jim, you need to see something. I drove to Pacific Vista, where she handed me a copy of Orange County Business Journal. The cover story. From 15 to 50, how Bradley Preston built his plumbing apprenticeship into a career. Inside was a photo of Bradley in work clothes, kneeling next to a pipe installation, tools spread around him like he actually knew how to use them. The article described his transformation from trust fund party boy to dedicated tradesman, his marriage to Sarah in a simple courthouse ceremony, and their plan to open their own plumbing business in 5 years. He's actually good at this, Maggie said. Never misses a day. Asks smart questions, treats the senior guys with respect. What about Sarah? She got a job at the community college. Recruiting students for your trade programs makes half what she used to make, but she says she likes the work. 3 weeks later, my phone rang at 6 in the morning. Dad? It's Sarah. Everything okay? Bradley and I wanted to tell you something. We paid off our first year of interest. On time. $65,000. They'd actually managed to pay $65,000 in 12 months. How? Bradley's been working overtime every weekend. I've been tutoring high school kids for extra money, and we sold them everything we didn't need and moved to a smaller apartment. That's good, Sarah. Dad? Yeah? We wanted to ask if you'd come to dinner Sunday. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and salad. We want to show you our apartment. Their apartment. Not the apartment or our place. Their apartment, like they were proud of it. I'd like that. Really? Really? Sunday dinner was spaghetti from a jar and salad from a bag, served on plates from Target. Bradley had calluses on his hands and dirt under his fingernails. Sarah wore a t-shirt from the community college with no apology for the humble setting. We talked about work, about the scholarship program, about their plan to buy a house in 3 years. For the first time in a decade, my daughter acted like she was proud to be my daughter. And for the first time in a decade, I was proud to be her father.